Welcome back to the Bluegrass. It's beautiful July afternoon. I have 5 puppies we're going to work. Each of them's a hunting breed, although only one of them is actually going to end up being a hunting dog. And what we're going to do is a little bit of role playing, okay? And here's what I mean about role playing. In the dog business, like for a professional dog trainer, it's pretty easy to get dogs into your program and kind of get them moving in the right direction, okay? So I mean, my place is set up perfect for dogs to come out here, do a little bit of schoolwork, then go have some fun. So they learn their basic obedience very quickly, okay? But people aren't paying me to have a dog that minds well at my house. They're paying me to have a dog that minds well at their house, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk dogs, just work on teaching them some basic obedience, and while we're working dogs, we're gonna talk about how we predict, prepare for, and practice the type of real life situations that these dogs are liable to run into as they mature. Now we're going to do that and we're going to have a little bit of fun, okay? But the message that I'm giving you, it's a serious message, okay? So like in particular with this dog. So this dog's owner wants him to go dove hunting this year. I mean, but he's a puppy, and so he's going to be very young. He's going to be an adolescent when dove season rolls around. And so what's my primary concern with an adolescent dog in a hunting situation? Manners. Okay, manners is always the very first thing that I'm interested in, pretty much in any kind of dog training situation, right? So what do I need to do? I need to make sure that this dog is safe when people are handling firearms, and I need to make sure that he's safe when people are handling equipment, whether it's a four-wheeler or it's a side-by-side or it's a tractor, okay? Because when dogs go into the dove field, all those things are present, okay? So once I start to get a little bit of basic obedience with the puppy, come on, nerd, then I start to think about the specific environmental factors that are going to be in play. And one of the first environmental factors, of course, is going to be a shotgun. Okay, so this dog, you know, he's only been with me for 2 weeks, but he was with his owner for quite a while. And when he came here, like when I would get the shotgun out, he didn't have any reaction to it. In other words, he didn't think anything about it being fun or not fun or scary. In other words, he had no experience with it. Okay, so Claire and I got the, come on, nerd, got the dummy launcher out with him and started teaching him about the relationship between loud noises and things falling out of the sky that he can go retrieve. And now he's like really excited about the dummy launcher, okay? Now when you're trying to raise a hunting dog, there's always kind of a balance where you're trying to get a little bit of good basic obedience so that you can take them places and get the proper socialization. But on the other hand, you don't want them so excited that they end up being rude and ruin someone's hunt, or they end up being rude and accidentally putting someone in danger, okay? So we have to divide our day up. Some part of the day we get the dummy launcher out and we work on retrieving and building drive, and then a good percentage of the day we grab a shotgun and we just walk around. We practice getting in the truck, we practice getting in the side-by-side, we practice getting in the boat, okay? Because there's nothing worse than a person that goes hunting every once in a while, that also has a dog that goes hunting every once in a while, in terms of like safety violations in the field. And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. I'm just saying if you're not used to carrying a shotgun around and working a dog, well then it can be pretty difficult. So I need for this dog to understand that when this comes out to play, yes, we are gonna go do something fun, but you have to have really good manners. And getting that balance, that's a hard balance to get. And you're not going to get it if you don't practice. You can practice all of your obedience that you want at home or on the golf course behind your house, okay? But if you don't practice it with the thing that gets the dog excited, and in this case it's going to be a shotgun, if you don't practice it with that thing, you're not going to have much in the way of reliability once you're out in the field, okay? Now, once the guys start to have a little bit of success with dove hunting, then duck season rolls around and maybe they want to go duck hunting, right? Same thing applies. I need to get this dog in the habit of being able to load in a boat, okay? And not pull me or jerk me or knock things over in a boat, because sometimes what happens, like if you're loading in a john boat or you're loading in a canoe and your dog starts to get out of sorts, well, you go to fall. You don't want your shotgun to fall in the water, so what do? You grab at it. Well, if you've made a mistake in terms of having your shotgun loaded or you know, something like that, well, something really bad could happen, okay? Now, the other thing that we need to work on is making sure that this dog can approach getting in the water, okay, and be calm and confident. Okay, because some guys are going hunting, and where they're going hunting to, it's a marsh, you know, and the dog has to do a little bit of swimming while they're wearing their waders. Again, what are we looking for? We don't want a guy trying to walk around in some ooey gooey sticky mud and his dog having his first experience of swimming through a deep spot while the fella is holding a bag of decoys on his back and a shotgun in his hand. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking about when I'm training this dog. Okay, so I still want just my simple basic obedience, right? I want him to come and be still and have good manners, okay? But there's some specific things that I want to do. I want him to walk on a leash, but I want him to walk on a leash while I'm holding a firearm. I want him to get in a boat, but I want him to get in a boat while I'm holding a firearm. I want him to be able to swim, but I want him to be able to swim beside me while I'm holding a firearm. Another thing a hunting dog will find themselves in positions of is like having to load up like in a dog box in the back of a truck. You know, sometimes at some hunting clubs, if you have a dog, they'll transport your dog separately and in the back of a side-by-side, right? And so just for safety, they'll want it to load up in a dog box. So I have to make sure that like a dog that's going to get some early experience, you know, this season when they're young and in the adolescent period, I have to make sure that they'll get in a box while I'm holding my shotgun. Up, up. Now you see this dog, now his owner has a side-by-side, his owner has a truck, but this is what I run into a lot. This dog is used to being helped in the car. Now I've got a shotgun in this hand, I got a bag of decoys on my back, and I'm wanting the dog to load up. I need him to load up on his own. And if I don't take the time to practice this now, okay, then what's going to happen is his owner is going to have to practice it in a real time. Come on, get in here, nerd. Come on, come on, up, up. Now watch here. When I go to practicing something like this, and this is a big mistake with this particular dog. At this age, he should, when you point somewhere, he should load up. It doesn't matter whether it's on the back of a four-wheeler, in a side-by-side, or in your truck. He should be climbing in there in anticipation, and we're going to go do something fun. This dog has a little bit of apprehension about this. Now, do you really want to pay for a hunt with your buddies and you're out having a good time and your dog embarrasses you like that? Of course not, right? So I'm going to help him get in here, but I ain't going to do it for him. I'm just going to help him get in there. Then I'm going to walk away and I'm going to practice making him stay. Walk away from the thing, I'll walk around behind the thing, and then each day I'll come out here and I'll leave him in there a little longer, okay? And that's just a real common thing that you run into. If you're a paid hunter and you're gonna go somewhere where they transport you to the pit or the blind, or they're gonna cook you breakfast, or you're gonna run back to the clubhouse to change out Purdy shotguns or whatever you got. Okay, so that's kinda, you know, what we think about in terms of like, modifying our basic obedience routine for a hunting dog. Another thing, just real quick, since he had trouble getting in the, you can come back over here, camera, but since he had trouble getting in the dog box, I'll show you. A lot of times people don't actually have dog boxes on the back of their side-by-side, so they just want the dog to ride on the ATV. So what we'll do here is I'll just go first so that he knows it's a good idea. Come on, nerd. And then ask him to load up here with me. And again, look what I'll do. I'll give him a little help. My basic rule, and this should be your rule too, is we always help as much as necessary, but never more than needed. I see lots of dogs that come out here that can't load in the truck. They have 65-year-old ladies picking them up and loading them in the truck, you know. And they say, well, you can't get in the truck. Not that they can't, is that they won't, because you helped more than was needed. Okay, now we're gonna put him up and we're gonna get another dog out, and I'm gonna show you how we teach you basic obedience, but from a different perspective. Very nice, good dog. All right, so I went in and got Ritz. Ritz is an awesome golden retriever. Now, Ritz belongs to my buddy Jim. Jim is an orthodontist. He's not a hunter, so he's not gonna be hauling around a shotgun. He's more likely to be hauling around some golf clubs or maybe a big bag of money. All right, but anyway, so I'm gonna put myself in this dog's position. I'm gonna empathize with this dog, you know. So I have some stuff in my pocket that this dog wants, all right? Well, Jim has some stuff in his bag that I want as the dog trainer, okay? So like me and this dog, we're kind of in it to win it together, right? So even though he's only been here 3 days, I do expect him to work pretty hard because his owner's a hard-working kind of guy. He's a hard golfer, he's a hard worker, you know, and he expects, he's kind of got high standards for how his dog behaves. So I'm gonna go out of my way to draw the relationship between good behavior and awesome stuff, right? So the better this dog behaves, the more awesome stuff he's gonna get. And the better a job I do as a dog trainer, the more awesome stuff I'll get, right? Okay, so it's very simple. Dog training doesn't have to be complex. People like to use big words. People like to make it seem like you have to have a PhD in behavioral psychology to understand how to give a dog a treat when they do something special, right? You don't. Okay, just get out and do stuff with them and think about how you would view being taught a new skill. If you were being taught a new skill that led to getting what's in this bag, well, you'd be more motivated, right? Well, so I have a little dog here, and now he lives in the suburbs, and so like his life's kind of flat. He goes out to a soccer field, or he goes to the football field, or he goes out for a walk on the sidewalk. It's all kind of flat. And I bring him out here, and I'm like, hey man, I need you to like climb and jump and balance. And he says, well, I don't know why that would be important. And I say, well, it would be important to you because if you'll do that stuff, I'm gonna really be lavish with my attention and my rewards, okay? It's important to your family because your family vacations in a place that's really fun for dogs to go, but they can only go if they have great manners. This kind of dog, like see this little bit of resistance here? If you send a kid out, if you're on a little resort island and you send a kid out to bike or hike with the dog, and the dog just plops down and won't go, or it can't come across a footbridge, or it can't go up or down the boardwalk, well then the kids aren't going to want to walk the dog, and the dog's going to miss out on a lot of fun activities. And the kids are going to miss out on a lot of fun activities, right? And we don't want anybody to miss out. We always look at dog training from the perspective of we're trying to get 360-degree wins. We want everybody to be, want the dog's owners to be happy, with the dog to be happier, and we want everybody that the owners and the dog come in contact with to be happy. So I need to approach training this type of dog from that perspective. I'm going to teach him that working with me, okay, that leads to good stuff. And after a while, he'll get in the habit of working with me to get all the things he wants, not just food, not just attention, okay, not just a ball, but everything he wants. And if we can do that, then I know for sure that the dog's going to be more closely integrated into the family's life. He's going to get to go to soccer practice, going to get to go to football practice, going to get to go golfing down south, going to get to do all the fun stuff. So we come out here every day and we do whatever we have to do to sweeten the pot to get successful repetitions. And it's a little bit different than raising the hunting dog in terms of like the stakes are a little bit different, right? If this dog pulls and makes Jim spill his bag, or if he pulls a little bit and makes somebody drop their golf club, you know, that's not as big a deal as a dog that pulls and causes somebody to accidentally discharge a shotgun, you know, accidentally make somebody fall out of a boat, accidentally make somebody fall in the water and get their waders full of cold water. You know, those are higher stakes, but it's the same principles. And throughout each of these demonstrations, I want you to be thinking about, I'm using the same principles. All I'm doing is thinking about the individual circumstances. I'm predicting, preparing, and practicing, okay? So let's just take like this chair and this bucket. Now, a dog, we'll set Jim's bag of money over here. A dog that's going to go to the dove field is going to need to politely come over here and sit by a bucket. You know, like if you go dove hunting much, the first day of dove season, you know, that's when you always see the bucket brigade show up, right? Brand new buckets, brand new seats. You know, I mean, that's just pretty standard. Now, I want the dog on my offhand side and I want him out of the way, being calm, attentive, and polite. Now, a little bit more cultured fella like Jim, he might be going to the opera or whatever you do in Ohio, right? Okay, so now as Jim is sitting here with his snifter of brandy and he's enjoying his opera, right, this dog, it still needs to be over here, out of the way, being calm, attentive, and polite. And then how we're going to get there is we're going to come out here, we're going to practice this scenario every day. And every day we're going to give them a few less treats. And then once they really understand that they're supposed to stay over here, we're going to whisper in their ear that leaving that position is not an option. They have to stay over there because we told them to, right? Because I said so. Now, let's go down here and think about what goes on. Where this dog goes for vacationing, it's kind of an island with trails and golf courses and stuff like that, and a lot of beaches. So the kids might get some boogie boards, or they might get a kayak, you know, and so the dog needs to be able to walk down to the beach and not get in the way. Okay? The dog might need to be able to sit still and wait and not get in the way. The dog's going to have to be able to load up in the truck. Very nice. And wait patiently while all the golf clubs are unloaded, while the coolers are unloaded, things like that. So again, we see that even though this dog's going to lead maybe a little bit different lifestyle, because it's not going to be a hunting dog, okay, it still needs the same fundamental skills. It needs to be calm, it needs to be attentive, it needs to be polite, and most importantly, it needs to be able to look at the context of a situation and make choices that are appropriate for the time and place. Okay? So now I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get Ritz's cousin Rosie, and we're going to talk about dogs live in the same neighborhood, but there's still some small differences in terms of how we predict, prepare for, and practice real life scenarios. All right, so I went in and got Ritz's cousin, Rosie, and Rosie lives 3 doors down from Ritz. Okay, now pretty similar neighborhood. It's actually my buddy Jim's little sister owns this dog, but she's a little bit younger, so she has kind of some younger children, right? And a lot of times when you have younger children, you get a little bit busy, right? So you got your Trader Joe's bag and you got your tennis racket and you're going to practice. And so sometimes it can be hard, right, to squeeze in all your dog training. And so you kind of got to be prepared when you're a busy mom of young children. You got to be prepared for your dog to take a little longer to get squared away. Like, so you can see how this dog's pulling a little bit more than Ritz was, okay? A little younger, a little bit less experienced, but the major difference is that there's young children involved. And whenever there's like really young children involved, I mean, it's really hard to be like accessing your treats all the time or being a disciplinarian all the time because you got so much stuff to manage, right? You have to go to the grocery store, you have to get all the snacks for practice, you have to make sure the kids have the right lacrosse stick or the right tennis racket, whatever it is, okay? And so then you're also trying to manage the dog. And when things are going crazy, that's when dogs go crazy. They just feed off the environment, you know? And then every once in a while, and this could be the case for Rosie, we might have another surprise pop up. I see this with young families all the time. They think they've got 3 children. Well, next thing you know, they got 4, right? So look at all the stuff I have in my hands. So when I'm helping a family do basic obedience training, but I know that it's going to be a little hard for the people to be super patient with the dog and to spend all the time that they need, what we kind of have to do is we have to stretch our timeline horizons out a little bit. In other words, we have to put our expectations a few months down the road, okay? So I'll come out here with this little dog and I'll carry all this stuff around. Okay. Now remember, I was trying to get Henry to look at seeing the shotgun as a chance to behave well and earn my attention. And then I was trying to get Ritz to look at my big bag of money and like look at that as something good, right? Okay. I'm just doing the same thing here, you know. We just carry stuff around. Now, there's a little bit for show, right? But here at my kennel, we'll be carrying buckets of water, we'll be carrying bags of food, we'll be carrying treats, all kinds of stuff, you know? So this is very similar to what a busy mom runs into, okay? And I teach the dog that I'm not trying to like ruin its fun during the day because I'm in a hurry, but sometimes I'm just in a hurry. And so I try to make all the environmental cues like look positive to the dog. Because to be honest with you, when a dog sees you pick up the baby, when a dog sees you pick up all the sports equipment, most of the time what that dog thinks is they're fixing to get ignored. And that's why you'll see, like, come on, nerd, you can do it. That's why you'll see a lot of negative attention-seeking behavior when you're trying to get ready to go on a vacation, or you're trying to get ready to go to work, you know, or you're trying to get ready to have company. You know, you just look up and all of a sudden the dog will be running through the house with a pair of your underwear, or they'll have some trash. Okay, well, what's going on there is the dogs see the environmental cues and they kind of know that they're going to be on the losing end of that deal. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to every day when I'm doing my real life activities, trying to make sure that I show the dog how being calm, attentive, and polite while I'm getting busy, while I'm working, okay, works out to its advantage in the long run. Now with a young dog like Rosie, that kind of takes some pretty lavish treat giving in the beginning. Now every day we use a couple of less treats, and before you know it, they're minding out of habit. But this right here can be pretty tough for a young mom. This can be pretty tough for you know, families where you've got 5 or 6 kids going in a bunch of different directions. But the other stuff's kind of the same. This dog vacations in the same place, and there's people that ride golf carts all over. So I want her to be able to go down south and get a chance to ride on the golf cart, right? You know, I want her to be able to go down south and get a chance to you know, go to the beach and hang out. And that brings us over again to this. So like, for example, you know, if you're a mom and you're going to the beach and you've got littles, you've got to be able to set everything down by your chair, okay? We got the baby, we might have to rock the baby. I'm gonna have to put on some kind of sunscreen, just a lot of stuff's going on. Well, we don't wait for that to happen. And we don't expect for practicing sit and stay in the kitchen or in the yard to translate to a situation where these are the environmental cues. Okay, so we just practice. We get the baby out, we rock the baby, we look through our bag, and we reward the dog every so often. And always remember, guys, people, they always ask me in these videos, they're like, Stonnie, do I always have to use treats? No, of course not. Treats are like training wheels on a bike. We just use them till we don't need them anymore, then we put them away forever. Now, kind of a unique thing that's going on with Rosie and Ritz. Now, Ritz doesn't have a pool. I take that back. Ritz has the best kind of pool. It's one that somebody else owns, right? So Ritz lives right down the road from Rosie, and Rosie has a pool. But Rosie's dad kind of pulled me to the side the other day, and he's like, I don't want Rosie in the pool because she's going to tear up my pool, right? She's going to get hair in my filter, she's going to scratch the liner or whatever. But me and Rosie have decided that one way or another, she's getting in that pool, okay? So what I have to do before Rosie goes home is teach her how to get in the pool and be comfortable and to be polite. Okay, so we're going to trim her nails up really well up close to her pad so she can't scratch the liner. And then we're going to teach her to enter and exit the pool in a polite fashion so that her, you know, her dad sees that and will let her in the pool. And then if Rosie gets to get in the pool, of course, nobody likes to swim alone, so what's she going to do? She's going to invite Ritz. Okay, so remember, always keep this in mind, guys. In dog training, we're always looking for the 360-degree wind. Okay, so this will be Rosie's first introduction to the water, so she'll go a little crazy. She won't like it. In dog training, a lot of times there's little stuff that you do that a puppy might not like because you know in the long run they're gonna get a lot more enjoyment out of doing it. Oh, okay, so I'm just gonna pick her up and put her in here. Oh my gosh. And I'm just gonna kind of hold her up. Whoa. Dog, Rosie, very nice. Very nice, way to calm down. You're a good dog. Okay, now you can get out. Very good. Let me help you. All right, now, in the interest of 360-degree winds, I'll go ahead and edit that video a little bit so Rosie's dad can't see how I got so wet because I don't want him worrying about his pool liner. All right, I got 2 more dogs for you. All right, guys, I went in and got Cash. Now, Cash is an awesome German Shorthair Pointer puppy, and he belongs to a young fella that likes to hike and bike and do lots of fun stuff. So, like, Cash's life is about perfect for this type of dog, minus the fact that they're not ever going hunting. The dog doesn't actually care about hunting. He just cares about going outside and doing stuff. So, Ben, his owner, is perfectly fine with taking him out and letting him range and look for birds and have a good time. But there is something that we have to consider with this particular dog, and that's the fact that Ben lives in an apartment. okay? And my normal advice in terms of apartment living is you would never get a German Shorthair pointer. Okay? Too much energy, too much endurance, right? Too quick a recharge rate. But Ben lives in Colorado, and that kind of changes things around a little bit, because in Colorado there's so many options close to your home to get out and do fun and interesting things. And that brings us to a weird thing that you might not think about much in designing your dog training program, which is how sometimes the things that get in your way as a dog owner or trainer during the formative stages actually end up working to your advantage. So let's take this little dog here. Okay, so for him to be able to go out and get to climb trees and get in the creeks and run up the mountains while Ben's mountain biking and stuff, he has to get on a leash, go from the apartment to the car, right? So he has to be good from the apartment all the way to the car. Then he has to be good once he gets in the car. Then he has to be good once he gets out of the car and Ben's unloading his mountain bike and they're waiting to get to the trailhead, okay? So all of this dog's adventure time comes after his formal obedience time, right? So in other words, he always has to have good obedience in order to get to do all the fun stuff he wants to do. Now let's contrast that with Henry, the field-bred lab that we brought out first. Henry lives on a big farm, okay? So his owners, they don't need him to be on a leash every day. They don't need him to do anything in particular over the course of the day other than refrain from behavior that's dangerous, destructive, or rude. So a dog like Henry, who you would think is in the perfect situation because he lives on a big farm and he can run around and do whatever he wants, okay, is actually the dog that's probably going to struggle the most with formal obedience because he just doesn't have to do it very often. Okay? You'll hear me say this in my videos over and over and over again. The best kind of learning is learning by doing. Okay? So in other words, the more that you do something, the better the dog's going to be at doing it. Okay? So if you have a dog that you're wanting to mind real well and you live on a farm, come on, nerd. You have to get up and make a conscious effort to practice. And sometimes that can be hard, right? Because you get a little bit busy and you just don't see the need to practice today. You're like, well, I would practice, but I'm just going to let the dog follow me on the gator as I go out here and take some feed to the horses. Ben doesn't have that luxury because of where he lives. Every morning, every afternoon, every night, he has to take this dog out in kind of a formal obedience setting. He has to put a leash on the dog. That dog has to navigate steps and elevators and parking lots just to be able to get a chance to go potty. So everything in this dog's life is predicated on calm, attentive, and polite behavior. A dog that lives on a farm, they just kind of go around, do what they want to do. They potty when they want to potty. They run and chase stuff when they want to chase stuff. They lay down when they want to lay down. And so when you take a dog, like for example, let's say you take a farm dog and you want to go hunting with them, and you get your bucket out and you go to sit down and you want the other dog to sit down by the bucket. How much experience does that dog have being in an open environment and having to stay right beside you? Probably very little if you haven't made a conscious effort to practice. A dog that lives in an apartment, okay, he has a lot of experience of having to be good on the leash, of kind of having to be bored, if you will. Okay? So that's a very important thing to think about, right? And then the more that the dog's on the leash and the more that he's in situations where he has to deal with new and novel stimulation, then the easier it is to introduce him to new things. Like so, a dog that lives in an apartment, now this is predicated on somebody living close to a wilderness area and them having the work ethic to get out every day and get their dogs the requisite amount of attention. But if they got the right owner, a dog that lives in an apartment, sometimes it's easier to keep up with your formal obedience than if you live in an area where your dog doesn't have to be on the leash very often. Come here, nerd. So let's take and put him in this water for a second, see what he does. Now you see this little bit of hesitancy? Okay. Now this is one of the things that works against you if you live in an apartment, is some of the things that are important to me, like being able to go swimming, well, you might just not have a lot of access every day to do with your dog. Okay, so when I go to put him in this water, you see him hesitate a little bit. but I know that Colorado has tons of rivers and lakes and fun stuff. So when he goes home, I want him to be super comfortable with getting in the water. I don't want him to hesitate. One of the reasons I don't want him to hesitate is because his owner is a real softy. And when this dog got here, he was a total baby. And so if this dog pretends like or thinks that he doesn't want to get in the river, then like his owner might not make him. And that's going to be missing out on a huge opportunity for a lot of fun adventure. Okay, so let me put him up in here. Come here, nerd. So we just put him in here. We'll do us a little lap. Very good. You a good boy. Come on. Very nice. Good boy. So we kind of start to think, and when we're doing our training, we kind of start to think in terms of intentionality. So there are some things, like with this dog who lives in an apartment, that I don't have to stress to his owner in terms of intentionality, right? I don't have to stress to his owner how important it is, come on nerd, how important it is to walk the dog on a leash, because the dog has to be on the leash every single time it goes out the door. But Henry, the black lab, I'm gonna have to really spend a lot of time convincing his owners that the dog needs to practice being on the leash, because where they live, he just doesn't have to be on the leash very often. Okay, now we're going to take a moment and we're going to talk about how a lack of intentionality can come back and haunt you in real life situations. So this dog loves being on the course and he loves going out back. He pretty much loves doing everything we do except one thing, and that's going and staying in the dog box, okay, while I do my chores, right? Okay, so watch this. Come on, Cash, you can do it. Look at him. Now, he loves going out in the field. You guys can look on Instagram. He's always running around the field and doing stuff. But what he's doing right here is he's saying, hey, I ain't doing that. I'm not going out there and waiting while you do whatever. This right here, that's part of kind of just who he is. Come on, nerd, you can do it. But it's also part of who Ben is, the guy that owns him. Ben loves this dog. He babies this dog to no end, okay? And sometimes when this dog doesn't want to do things, well, he kind of lets him slide. The problem with that is, it puts you in a position to where if you're out and about and doing things in a real life adventure, okay, and your dog like just decides not to do part of the adventure, you're stuck, okay? So you can have a lack of intentionality because you live on a farm and you feel like, well, I don't really need my dog to be on a leash. Of course you need it to be on the leash some, because one of these days you're going to be in a situation where dog has to be on a leash. You can have a dog that loves going out and doing most of the things that you do, and you can think to yourself, well, it's not super important to do the things that he doesn't like to do. Well, of course it is, because what if the thing that he runs into that he doesn't want to do is in the middle of a 4-day hiking trip up a mountain, right? So we're going to go out here. Come on, nerd. We're going to go out here and we're going to get in this dog box. And that's just the way it's going to be, you know? Now, what's been happening up to this point when I'd put him in the dog box, come on, nerd, you can do it, like, is that he would kind of whine and carry on. And then what I do is selectively reinforce him when he gets quiet, and then I let him out once he's completely settled down. Come on, nerd, you can do it. Now, again, getting back to our idea of we help, but we don't help any more than needed. So we help as much as necessary, but no more than needed. So you'll notice, I understand that he doesn't want to go in there, okay? So I helped him, okay? But I didn't help him quite as much as I helped him yesterday, and I'm not going to do it for him. He has to get up in there, and then I'm going to help him be quiet. I'm going to help him be quiet by selectively reinforcing him, okay, whenever he'll sit there and not make a lot of noise. Now, here's the thing, guys. I know it's not like I take them anywhere in that box. That box is just a convenient way for me to practice having the dogs like go in a kennel and sit and wait patiently while things are busy. I'm not a big crate fan myself. I'm not a big dog box fan myself. But let's just be honest. You know, if your dog ever has to be transported, if it ever has to get on an airplane, it's going to have to ride in a box. If it ever gets sick or injured, it's going to have to go to the vet and it's going to have to be in a box. And I do not want the first time the dog has the experience of being in an uncomfortable enclosure to coincide with the time where he's traveling or he's injured or he's ill. Okay, so I'm just going to make kind of one little trip around. Now, I can understand why the dog gets a little worried here. He's because like, hey, Stonnie, I'm trapped in here and like, it seems like you're leaving. What I want him to understand is that I would never leave him. I would never put him in a situation where it works out to against his advantage. You know, it works out in a way that harms him somehow. Okay. So every day we just come out here and we practice different things, because I want him to know that if he goes on a kayaking trip, if he goes on a hiking trip, and his owner has to put him somewhere for a little while, he has to wait in the car, or he has to wait by the cashier's desk, or he has to wait on the boat dock, his owner will be back and something good will happen. Okay, so move the kayak around. Sometimes I'll start the four-wheeler. Rev up the four-wheeler, do things like that. Okay, and that intentionality, you know, I intentionally try to put the dog in situations that, you know, he finds a little bit stressful, because I want to build resilience. And after identifying the things, you know, that they find stressful, then we work on them so that we can, you know, practice. We can give the owners ways to practice so that those tendencies towards those given behaviors don't pop up in real life. So now he's being calm and quiet. Oh, where are you going? And he's trying to get away from there. Now, this is what I want him to understand. Look, guys, there's nothing wrong with being in there. Like all the other dogs jump in there and they're happy about it, you know, and he'll be happy about it. It just takes him a few times. Now, so the intentionality aspect of this training program, or of your approach training, have to think, just because you don't need it now, it doesn't mean that you don't need it. So always look early to identify potential weaknesses, things that are unlikely to pop up, but might pop up. And that's really important to understand. Just because something's unlikely doesn't mean that you're not going to have a problem with it. Very nice. All right, I got one more dog to work, and he is a little cutie. Very nice. All right, guys, I went in and got Bunsen. Now, Bunsen is one of my favorite kinds of dogs. He's an English Cocker Spaniel, and he belongs to a college professor that I know. And so what's the kind of stuff he's going to get to do? He's going to get to go to campus and walk around while Greg has his little bag full of papers and his computer, and they're going to go get some lattes or whatever. And he's going to have a big time. But again, you know, getting back to our idea of predicting what potential problems we might run into, it should be obvious what the biggest problem with this particular dog is going to be, okay? And I'll pick him up just to make it super clear. Look at that baby. Oh, he's a cutie. Now, this is what I've been dealing with for 2 days. He's only been here for 2 days, and I bet I've had to ask 20 different people to put him down, okay? Because everybody that sees him just starts making over him, and they want to pick him up and love on him. And he's not having to do anything for that attention except be him, you know? But I want you to think about how that, you know, is going to work out in real life. If this dog grows up thinking that when he goes out, every single person wants to pay attention to him and do nice things for him just because he's good looking, okay? Well, what's going to happen the day his owner needs him to do something that he doesn't want to do? He's going to be like, hey, listen, that's not the relationship we have. The relationship we have is I'm just me and I'm awesome and you do a lot of nice stuff for me, okay? So like for example, I bring him over here. Come here, nerd. And I ask him to climb on this log, and he says, well, I don't know if I can climb that, Stonnie. I'll put a little effort into it. Is that good enough? I mean, I am good looking. I'm like, no, that's not quite enough. And so I'm going to help him, okay? And again, I'm going to help him as much as is necessary, but no more than needed, okay? And so I'm going to give him a little incentive here. I'm going to do a little pelvic lift, bring him up here, give him a treat. And what I have to introduce him to is the idea that just because he's good looking doesn't mean he's always going to get his way. He's not just going to go out in the world and everything is going to be perfect from his perspective. There's going to be times when he's asked to do things like climb or jump or wait patiently, and he's going to have to accept those things. And we saw it with the last dog. The last dog did everything super well except when it was time to go over there and wait patiently while I moved the kayak around or while I moved the four-wheeler around, things like that, because he doesn't like to. He doesn't like for me to restrict his activity when he's out here because he wants to go do what he wants to do. This dog here, if I don't watch out, he's for sure going to grow up and, you know, have a similar view of life, because why would he have to work hard when everybody showers him with love just for being him? Okay, so I have to be intentional in putting him in situations where he doesn't get his way, where he doesn't get made over. So I have to have people, I have to like pull them off to the side. And I'm like, you know, I want you to pay attention to all the other dogs and ignore this dog. Okay, and it drives him crazy, right? But when he's being calm, attentive, and polite, and he's not like jumping up or looking for attention, we selectively reinforce that behavior. Come on, nerd, you can do it. Very good dog, hop up. Now, I tell you another funny thing about little dogs like this one. Come here, we're going this way, dude. Is that although this dog looks like a little baby, these little English Cockers, they're really big dogs. They have big motors, they have big hearts. They like to do lots of fun stuff. But sometimes their owners and the people around them, they treat them like baby dolls. And they don't let them realize their full athletic potential. They don't let them get a chance to run and explore. You know, they're hunting dogs, right? And so you want to take them on adventures. Even if you're not a hunter, you just take them on adventures and let them hunt, and let them have a good time, right? Now, so if I want people to help me be intentional about how to help this dog realize its full potential, then I have to think about those things. I have to make sure that they help me, not let him turn into a baby that thinks everybody's going to cater to him at every moment of the day. And I have to, you know, get people to like help me put the dog in situations that match his character, not necessarily the way that he looks. And here's what I mean by that. You can look at this dog and he looks kind of petite. He looks kind of like you should be protective of him when you take him outside. But the reality couldn't be farther from the truth. He's super sturdy, you know. Now look, he's never been on these steps before, so I'm just gonna give him a few treats, help him get up here. Very nice. Now, no bigger than he is right here, it would be super easy for me to just pick him up and put him in the side-by-side, because he's been picked up and put in the car. Very nice. Had a bunch of kids out here yesterday, they were picking him up and putting him everywhere. Okay, but when Uncle Stonnie's around, he's got to work for everything. So I want to give him a treat and I want to tell him that I'm happy with him, but I know in this situation, the true happiness is going to be in him learning to realize his full potential. Very nice. I always remember with dog training that going down is harder than going up. So if you are trying to, you know, work with your dog on stairs or steps or embankments, where they're going to need the most help is going down. Very nice. Easy. Come on, you can do it. Again, I'm going to help as much as is necessary, but no more than needed. Come on, you can do it. You're a big boy. Very nice. Oh, that's perfect. Very good. Now let's think about, you know, going to a commons area at a college or going to a park. Okay, so this dog's owner, what are the kind of things that he needs to think about? He needs to think about practicing situations where maybe he's out and he's got his computer out and he's doing some research or he's doing some grading, okay? And what's he going to need out of his dog? Well, he's going to need his dog to be able to just kind of sit over here out of the way. Okay? We don't want the dog on the right-hand side of the chair because that's where our gear is, that's where our food is, that's where our drinks are. Okay? So we want him to be able to be over here, and we want him to be able to wait patiently. Okay, so we practice. Now I'll put the dog in this situation. I don't want him out in front of me. I want him over here to the side. Now the reason I want him over here to the side is in case I want to get up out of my chair, I don't want to trip over him. Okay, so I set up this whole situation. I work on my computer and I have people come over here and talk to him. And then I reward him when he has the right type of reactions to people making over him. Because if you go out in public with this particular dog, it's a non-stop parade of people making over him just because he's cute. Just because he looks like he needs to be picked up and loved on. Okay? And I need to make sure that that, you know, is not how he looks at life. I need him to understand that if I'm out and I'm busy, his job is to sit over here and be calm, attentive, and polite. And then over the course of time, he'll understand that the more calm, attentive, and polite he is, the more access to all the people he has. Okay? Because obedience ends up equaling freedom. Okay? Very simple stuff. Now let's go over here and let's put him in a situation where he has to wait a little bit. Okay. Now his owner has another little English Cocker, awesome dog. And so sometimes when you're out adventuring with dogs, you might want to play fetch with one of them instead of both of them. You might want to let one of them get on the paddleboard with you, not both of them. Okay, so this dog also has to learn to sit and wait patiently. This dog's owner, being a college professor, no telling where he's going to be working in a year or 2 years or 5 years. So this dog might have to be transported clear across the country or from one continent to the next. So I'm going to make sure that he's acclimated to the type of enclosures that are used to transport dogs. I'm going to make sure that he's acclimated to the type of enclosures that are used at the vet when dogs are injured or ill. Okay, now remember how the German Shorthair Pointer, like he saw that we were going to the dog box and he was like, I don't want to go over there, okay? This dog, he's only been here for 2 days and he already thinks that going to the dog box is awesome. He's like, yeah, Stonnie, that's great, I'll go over there. But now look at this. You see how he's kind of waiting? Because that seems high. That's like a big daunting thing for the dog. And what I should do here is get a little block or a little set of steps and work up. But what I'll do, since we don't have a block available, I'm going to put his paws up here. And then I'm going to pick him up with a pelvic lift just a little bit until he pulls. And he's going to pull himself into the dog box. Very nice. Now when he goes in there, every so often, something good is going to happen. I'm going to reward him for being calm, attentive, and polite. Very nice. Okay. Very good. So I say, hey, wait there. I'll be back in a minute. Same thing I did with the short hair. Just a little different dog, a little different reaction. What's funny about those two dogs is that one looks like the baby, okay, and the other one acts like a baby. Very funny. You can't judge a book by its cover. So I roll around. Now the dog can't see me right here, but he can hear the kayak being drug around. I get all the way around here. This guy got back on the stand. Come back, selectively reinforce the dog for being patient. Get on the four-wheeler. And then look, remember guys, whenever I'm showing you the stuff that we do, you don't have to do the same stuff that I'm doing. It's the principles that count. I mean, I don't care if you don't have a four-wheeler, maybe you have a golf cart or you have a bicycle or you have a one wheel or whatever it is, okay? We're just putting dogs in situations where they can learn how to navigate the situation to their best advantage, okay? And that idea of intentionality, that's where we always come back to trying to predict where we're going to have trouble. And after decades and decades of experience, I can predict with 100% certainty that where you have trouble with a dog that's that cute is with people like just making over him and making him feel special, you know. And there's nothing wrong with feeling special as long as you act special. But there's a big problem with feeling special just because you look special, okay? So if you keep that in mind, you're gonna be a pretty good dog trainer. Okay, so I hope those examples helped. So, you know, get to work. Try to predict what kind of problems that you're gonna have, right? It's really, if you will sit down, think about your dog and your lifestyle, and you'll take the stuff that's probably not gonna pop up very often and practice it, okay? You're gonna be in a lot better shape, okay? That's it. So predict it and practice it so that you can prevent it. All right, I'll see you guys next week.